you see the guys going to the NHL and everything, and you're like, well, why can't we have that? We put work in as well. Like, give us something. So to have PWHL now and to see it grow and to see it succeed so far, knock on wood, it's just so fascinating and exciting.
Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today's guest is a dynamic defender whose impact is felt on every shift. Vita Poniatovskaia, a standout with Yale University, brings a wealth of international experience to the Bulldogs' blue line, having proudly represented Russia on the world stage. With her smooth skating, sharp hockey IQ, and fearless style of play, she's become one of the most dependable defenders in college hockey. Now with her name officially in the mix for the upcoming PWHL draft, Vita is ready to take the next step in her hockey journey. Vita, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm doing well. It's a final stretch for me here at Yale now, final season, but hanging in there. Yeah, how are you?
Good. I'm doing well, thank you. And all the more reason then why I'm so thankful for you taking the time. I know that between ending your collegiate career and beginning this next chapter, things are awfully busy for you. So for you to hang out with me and share your story is something I'm incredibly honored to be a part of. And so thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you to you as well, and I'm excited to chat.
Now let's dive into your story. And in order to dive into your story, we have to start where it all started for you. Rewind the tape. We're going all the way back to your first foray, your first steps into hockey. Growing up in Russia, when did hockey first come into your life? What was it about hockey that kind of drew you into the sport?
I think I oftentimes find my story kind of boring, because I hear a lot of my teammates, say how they were begging their parents, to let them play hockey, to buy the gear and stuff. For me, it was the opposite. I was kind of always an active kid, all through my childhood. But my parents never put me into any sport for some reason. And then when I was 6 years old, I think my dad found out about a hockey team, like a girls' hockey team, that existed in my city. And yeah, he just decided, he goes okay, now you'll be a hockey player. And he just brought me to practice, and that's how it all started. So I think it's kind of just it wasn't my decision to do it, but I'm so very thankful that he ended up choosing the sport for me.
Okay, so then that begs two follow-up questions, which again, you're going to see or find out very quickly that I ask a ton of follow-up questions.
Sure.
One being, considering this wasn't something that you had wanted to do, what were your initial feelings when it comes to hockey? And was hockey something that your dad was super passionate about, or why was it that he was like, you're playing hockey, this is the decision that I've made, kind of thing?
So the first one was my feelings. I don't know. I don't think I enjoyed it necessarily right away. It was fine, and it was I would spend a lot of time at the rink, practicing, because I started when I was 6, and the boys usually, and a lot of the girls start when they're already 4 years old, so I had to catch up. So I'd go to extra practices and everything. It was fine, not always fun, because when you just learn how to skate and hold the stick and stick handle, it's not necessarily fun, but it was okay. And once we got to the games, it got much more fun, and you would spend time with your friends and teammates. So that was good, and I think I learned to love it. And now obviously I can't imagine my life without it. And then why my dad? I think he's always enjoyed hockey. Um, I think he like played it hockey, but not never played professionally, just like, outdoors, winter hockey. Um, but I guess they wanted me to do some sport or be a part of some club so I wouldn't just be sitting at home coming from school every day. And yeah, I guess they just also like not they, because my mom worked for the most part and my dad was more so with me, so I guess he just took it seriously as well. And yeah, he just helped me a lot throughout my career.
Okay, and so growing up, starting a little bit later than a lot of other kids, as you mentioned, you were a little bit older um, when you first started learning how to skate and play hockey and all
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things. You also grew up playing, as a lot of girls do, on boys' teams. So throughout your childhood, growing up, what was that experience like playing on boys' teams? Especially when you were so young, and again, you were just learning how and finding your own passion when it comes to hockey. What was that experience like for you?
It was interesting. There was a lot of great things and a lot of bad things, I would say, about it. Some of the great things, it's like right off the bat, is just the level of hockey, um, how good like the boys are at that age, how fast they are. It's just like, you practice with the best, you're gonna become that way eventually if you put in the work. So that was one of the great things. I mean, I also made a lot of great guy friends, so like spending time with them when I was like 10, 12 years old, it was super fun. But on the other side, because it's just a double-edged sword, like on the other side it was like it's the I won't don't want to say discrimination, but it's like when guys think, oh, it's a girl, why is she here, like why is she doing that, she's taking up someone's spot on the team. A lot of sometimes a lot of unhappy parents who are like, my boy could have been playing on this line and now she's playing, or like sometimes the coaches wouldn't let me practice with like their teams just because they're like, no, we're not gonna take a girl. So there was a lot of struggle, and once again, it was myself and another girl, and our parents helped us out a lot, like just by like coming up, like we would come up to the coaches and our parents would also come up to the coaches and like, um sort of argue on our behalf, like saying that like, come on, like they're just as good, why won't you let them play, like, they also deserve that opportunity because they're putting the same work in, so like why not let them, like give them a chance. So yeah, it was both great and tough at times.
So, and I'm thankful for you bringing that up because that was actually going to be my next question in regards to, especially, we're starting to obviously see a shift now when it comes to women in sports in general and being recognized and being appreciated and valued. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but for you as a kid growing up, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the obstacles, and you shared some of those, so thank you for that. But were those obstacles that you faced, I guess, were there ever moments when you said, you know what, it's just not worth it. I just don't want to do this, especially because you didn't have, like, this wasn't initially your choice to get into hockey to start out with. Were you ever discouraged?
I don't think I was ever discouraged, because just once again, my parents were such a great support system with that. Like I remember sometimes at school, it would also like at the start when I would have to like go to practices early and skip some classes, some of the teachers were just like sort of unhappy with me. But because my parents were like, just don't listen to them, just go, like do all your work, show up, like show them that you can do it even if you're not there. I never really felt like that I should stop or quit. Yeah. I don't think. Maybe like at times when I would have bad games, I would be like, "Well, that sucks. That doesn't feel too great." But to like be discouraged due to the outside circumstances, no. I think like my support system helped me so much to like stick it out.
Okay, so you've kind of alluded to it there, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about, in, I don't want to say necessarily overcoming those obstacles, but getting through those obstacles, going through those obstacles that you've or those challenges that you've shared. Um, how do you feel that helped to shape you and your career, even like, even to this point now where, there may be a challenge ahead of you, but as you said, like, you didn't really look at those as you kind of like push the outside noise, you kept the outside noise rather on the outside. You didn't let it affect you. But maybe talk a little bit about how that those experiences help to shape you, both as a hockey player, of course, but also just as a person too.
I think what I've been told, like my whole life, was basically like the amount of work you put in is what you're gonna get out of it. And I feel like that sort of like that thought helps me get like through difficult times and like, like playing time, whatnot, being able to make it onto like a certain team, get drafted and everything. All I think is like, okay, I just need to do my job. And if like I put in that work, I will get rewarded. So I think, yeah, that's the biggest lesson of my life. I'm like, I know there's so many things that are out of my control, but if I control whatever I can control, um, it will work out. If it won't be great, it will work out somehow.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'm going to assume you're using that same mentality now, especially
For
as you're
sure.
about to embark on a huge next
Yeah,
chapter of your career.
for sure.
Are you still taking that same mentality, that same
Yeah,
approach
for
to,
sure.
to this
Just
situation as you've done?
Yeah, for sure. Just like, working out, doing on ice, off ice stuff, and then everything will take care of itself with that. Yeah.
I think that's what's great about that perspective is that it applies to both you as an athlete and you as just an individual, right? And that can apply to anyone, right? Like let the outside, like you can't control what you can't control. Just
Right.
focus on what you can control, and you're going to be
Exactly.
fine. Everything's going to work out, right?
Exactly.
Everything's going to
Yeah.
work out the way that you
Yeah.
wanted it to.
Yeah.
Looking back uh, at your Russian roots, obviously you're very proud of being from Russia. What were some of those traditions, some of those memories about Russia, Russian culture that really helped to shape you, and not just on the ice, but off the ice as well?
I mean, I've lived in the North America for, I think I talked to my parents about it recently, like 7 years already. So I'm pretty integrated into the society, but I think this like my core is still like shaped a lot by the Russian culture and just how I was raised. Um, so yeah, I think maybe one thing is that I'm not as like um loud, for instance, as a lot of North Americans are. Not as smiley. I'm like more serious and kind of like, not as emotional. So sometimes people are like Vita, why do you look mad? Like I don't get it. And I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just like not smiling right now. I'm feeling okay. So I guess that's like one thing. Maybe I'm not necessarily as outgoing as well. Although I'm like happy to speak with people, but definitely not as outgoing as it's like normal in America for people to be. Um, so yeah, other than that, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like aspects of Russian culture that I miss, like for instance, food. Like I love Russian food and everything. But I've been able to like sort of bring it here, like make stuff at home, go to grocery stores and buy stuff there to just like make it, and like I'm staying in touch with my parents too. So like. I speak Russian. Oh, I've also taken like Russian classes here at Yale, which's been just like so awesome to be able to speak Russian here and not just on the phone with my parents and friends. So yeah, I think those are like the biggest things.
Okay, and I have to ask again, me and my follow-up questions, but you mentioned in the game we played earlier that home cook, like you enjoyed cooking
Mhm,
at home rather than
mhm,
taking out, although let's be
mhm.
honest, everyone enjoys some takeout.
Exactly.
What are some of those favorite meals that you enjoy that make you feel as though you're back home in Russia? What
Yeah.
are some of those meals? Share share
Mm,
share them with us.
yeah. Well, I don't have as much time to cook here now, but when I do, I make Russian dumplings. They're called pelmeni, and they're so good, but they take so long to make. But actually, I made them like a month ago or so. Yeah, and it's just dough with like meat in it, and that's like probably my favorite Russian meal. Oh, also crepes. Russian crepes. They're like a little different, and I make them for the girls here too, and they just absolutely love it. So yeah, these are the two biggest things, and I think as I'm gonna get more time, I'm like gonna spend more time cooking for myself, and I'll be able to like make some Russian soups and salads and stuff. But now, just those two things.
Fair. And I guess then that begs the question, how great does it feel to be able to share your culture with your teammates, with your friends over these years that you've been in North America with Yale?
It's actually so awesome, I think, because Russia is kind of a mystery country, I feel like, for a lot of people here. There's not many Russian female hockey players who come to the US, so people don't really get to experience that. And I think Yale's been just awesome because we've had a German girl here, a Swedish girl here. Now I live with a Slovenian and an Austrian girl. And it's just like sharing that culture with them, learning from them, and then sharing the culture with the American and Canadian girls. It's just I think it's fun for them and for me too. So yeah.
Well, it's funny you mention that because one of the reasons that I wanted to ask that question was out of my own genuine curiosity because you're actually the first Russian player I've ever had on the show. So I haven't had the opportunity to
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
learn about the culture.
Yeah.
And so I selfish, that question was really selfish for me, was that I was like, just tell me about the culture and
Yeah.
especially making that adjustment
Yeah.
to North America, which we're going to dive into in just a moment. But, um, sticking with Russia, um, you've had the opportunity, as I mentioned off the top, to represent your country. And um, the obvious starting point for this question would be, what did it feel like to put that jersey on for the first time and know that you're representing your home country that you love so much?
Yeah. The only thing is I've only represented the junior national team. I never got to play on the senior team, which is
Yet.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully sometime soon when they will be back on the national stage, but that's a
Yeah,
different topic.
yeah.
But it was I just felt really grateful to do that, be selected from like as a player from the entire country, like to be on that team felt very special. Um and rewarding to be honest, because you realize that all the work you've put in paid off as you're able to represent your country on the world stage, and just like being a part of that team, like hanging out with the girls from all over the country, because I played boys at that time, or I played in Canada. I didn't get to spend much time with them, so that was also really fun to just like be around the girls, and just playing against other teams, like kind of seeing how like the American girls are, the Canadian girls are, like the European teams, like sort of seeing what kind of type of hockey they play. That was also really interesting. So yeah, it was just a great experience, and I think about like my times when I played on the national team, and I miss it a lot because it was just a fun all around experience.
Yeah, and I appreciate the assist on this one because you helped provide a perfect segue into this next question, which was obviously, as you kind of alluded to there, playing against, like, you're playing against the best in the world, right? And that's no easy task. That isn't something. Obviously, it isn't easy, but it also helps you to grow, help you to develop both on and off the ice, how you prepare, all those sorts of things as
Mm-hmm.
well. How did being a part of the national program, how did that help to um, shape you and develop you and also build your confidence as a defender? Defense is certainly not an easy position to play.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think benchmarking the game against, like, once again, the Canadian style of play and the American style of play was like one of the biggest things. I remember how excited I would always be. Like I remember like during the my last world championship, junior world championships, I was so excited to play Team US and Team Canada. Like those were the biggest games. And our first game against America, we actually only lost 1-0 or like 1-2 or something. It was a very close game, and it was just fun, and it's definitely helped me see what like level um these girls play at, what type of play, and yeah, um in terms of development, I only for the most part came to play at the tournaments. Like I only because they usually have throughout the entire year they have national team camps that lead up to the World Championship, like September, October, November. But I wouldn't go to those in my last 2 years because I was in Canada. It was way too taxing for me to fly back and forth. So I mostly developed just in Canada. But when I came there once again, it was great to see the girls and like, skate with them, see what they've been up to the whole year, how they practice, what our coaches have to say, what style of play we're gonna play. It's just like, different hockey. So yeah.
Okay, so then that brings up a question around what was that like for you? Because like you said, a lot of your what who became your teammates with the national team, they've already been together
Mhm.
for some period of time,
Yeah.
whereas you were jumping in. It's
Yeah.
almost I equate it to something like jumping onto a moving train, right? Everyone else is already kind of prepared. You're not saying you're playing catch up, but you there's some time that it'll take for you to acclimatize yourself to the structures and all those sorts of things. What was
Mhm.
that experience like for you?
Mm, it was actually not too bad because um yeah, I don't even I don't know. It was pretty easy because I knew a lot of the girls and the coaches knew me pretty well. They knew that I played high level of hockey in Canada too. So it wasn't too like hard for me to get used to. I mean, I guess maybe systems wise it was a little more complicated. But like speed wise and everything, I think Canadian hockey is super fast because once again I played in Canada. Um, and they're playing on the smaller rink and Russia would play on the bigger rink. So I don't think getting used to the speed was that hard for me. So I guess maybe systems wise was the only difficulty, but I do not remember myself like, coming there for the camp and struggling very much. So yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a good confident answer. I can appreciate that. And you've talked or you've mentioned a few times about playing in Canada, and I wanted to specifically highlight your time, obviously, with the HTI Stars in Toronto. Um, First of all, what was it like coming to Canada, playing, as you mentioned, smaller rinks? What was that overall experience like, and what were your initial impressions and maybe some of your favorite memories of your time playing in Canada and how it impacted your career?
The first thing that just came to mind right now is when I came there for the first year. Well, like I came there for summer camp, but that's like just was like for me to see, feel it out, how I'd feel there, if I was ready to like leave my family because I was there for a month. So, and before that, I never lived away from home. And I was 15 then. So yeah, that was the first time that I was there. But then when I came to Canada to play and we started playing, and I remember having 2 games per day, I was like, holy, like that's a lot. That's exhausting. And we played like that consistently and it was definitely a great experience like to develop as well. I got so much playing time. We didn't necessarily always had like 60. I remember sometimes we would play with 2 defensive pairs and stuff like that. So it was a lot of playing time. It was a lot of games. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, Um, adjustments wise, I think we did a lot of honestly skill work. I remember I came actually to the national camp and I think I was in Canada for a year or maybe two at that point. And I remember it was like I don't know if it was one of the coaches or the doctors, but like the doctors always watch the practice and one of them goes like, oh no, it was actually an equipment manager and he goes, I see your passing improved so much. And like I didn't even realize that, but I guess them not seeing me for a year and like us having so many like skills practices and like so much ice time and playing in Canada helped me improve in that sense. So yeah, it was really interesting.
Well, and something that I find really fascinating about you and your career, especially early on as you've continued to grow, is that during your time here in Canada, you actually moved into a leadership role. So with those same stars, becoming an assistant captain between 2019 and 2020, and then in your final season, it was you were captain. What does leadership mean to you?
Um I think it's very important. Um to have leaders on the team because I think they define the team culture and the direction that the team is going to move in and the team success. Because if you do not have a strong team leader or leaders, it's really hard to like keep together like a team of 25 girls, you know, like if everyone is thinking their own thing and you forget about like the goal that you all work towards, it's really hard. So yeah, leadership is very important in my opinion, and I think like the way I think about it, it's really important to lead by example. Like, you know, you just sort of do things and you hope that people recognize it and they start acting the same way as you. But I also understand that it's also important to like, you know, like keep the conversation going at all times about like what are we here for? What do we want to achieve and stuff like that.
Okay, so then, and that's I love that answer, and I also want to know from your time being a leader, how did that shape you as an individual? Because, you know, again, as an international player coming to Canada, that in and of itself, as you mentioned, you know, not this was your first time being away from home. And now all of a sudden you're on this new team, and then you get this leadership role, and those things aren't easy in and of themselves. How, you know, how did that shape you, that time as a leader shape you as a person, and maybe prepare you for this next step, which was, or the next step rather, which is Yale?
hmm Um, as I mentioned, like being in a leadership role defines largely what is going to come of the team that you're playing on. Um, and I think being in that role has definitely made me much more responsible and attentive to my actions, how I act, what I do, because I realize the way you act, people will take that for a norm on the team. Like whatever I do is going to be like, okay, if she does that and she's a leader, then I can do this too. So if I'm being like silly all the time and not paying attention at practice, people are going to think that that's okay too, since she is one of the best players and she does that, I can do that too. So it's definitely made me very, very responsible, and like that responsibility on the ice, you know, paying attention in practice, listening, leading by example has definitely just improved my game overall, and just prepared me to come here being a more well-rounded player.
Okay. And so now as we sort of shift gears to your time at Yale, which is really, I think, one of those other times during your career that you were really put on the map with the way that you were able to perform, the way that you continue to grow, develop both on and off the ice. But before we get into that, I mean, again, maybe it's an obvious question, but why Yale? What was it about Yale
Yeah.
that you felt as though was like, this is where I want to go. This is where I think is going to elevate me both academically as well as professionally.
Yeah. Well, so first when I came to Canada, right, I came with a purpose that I wanted to play college hockey. Like I wanted to get into the university to get a degree. That was my sole goal because at that point there was no professional league that was as fast growing, like had as high quality of production as PWHL has right now. So I didn't have those prospects of like, you know, going into professional hockey afterwards. So yeah, so when I came to Canada, my only thought was just get an offer, get a full ride, because my parents wouldn't be able to pay at all for any university. So just get a full ride from any university and just go and study. And when I started to get offers, I remember I was like, I think talking to Vermont and like some other schools, and then at some point Yale come around, and I was like, no way. I was like, this is unreal because like we all know Yale and Ivy League schools. It's just the level of education is unmatched. So yeah, then once Yale came into the picture, like there was no question that I was going anywhere else if my grades would allow me, right? First I had to get in, and if I got in, then it was Yale. So yeah.
Okay, so then that that brings up the you alluded to it, an Ivy League school. That is not easy, and it's not easy, when you think about being like when you separate the two, academically it isn't easy. Being an athlete is not easy in Division 1. When you combine the two now and you have to do both at such a high level, how did you find that adjustment for you making that jump now to the collegiate level? How did you find the balance of being an athlete, the balance of also academics, especially as you mentioned, academics being the reason you came here to start out with?
It was really hard. I'm gonna have to say that it's still even like hard for me now, till all the way till the end because the classes are very taxing. A lot of schoolwork. Like you can't just go to class and breeze through and hope you do well. You actually have to put work into classes as well. And then there's also hockey. Like you spend like 3 to 4, sometimes 5 hours at the rink a day, and to balance both, it's really tough. And then the road trips take the time away from studying as well. So it was really hard, but somehow we figured it out. Like I've taken a summer class, um, and I guess it's just like if you want to do it, you will find a way, and that's actually like how it was for me in the past 4 years. Just like find a way to do it, take like specific classes, major in something that's not necessarily hard, and like you have to spend a crazy amount of times, like like at a laboratory or like in doing some like crazy projects. So yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by MB Performance Nutrition, fueling the next generation of hockey players. Whether your athlete is just starting out or chasing next level performance, MB Performance Nutrition has free resources to help, like a meal timing guide and protein powder buying checklist. Founded by Melissa Bufunos, a certified holistic nutritionist and former elite hockey player, MB Performance Nutrition also offers one-on-one coaching, team workshops, and more. Learn more at melissabufunos.com. That's MELISSABOUFOUNOS.com. And now, back to the show. Okay, so then knowing that, and I appreciate your candor on that. I feel like it would be far too difficult for me to manage both of those things.
Right.
So I commend you for doing that, but I also appreciate your honesty in there. Knowing that you were able to you managed to find a way to do both.
Yeah.
How does it feel reflecting on your time at Yale, knowing that you were presented with these, again, once again in your career, presented with these obstacles, and once again, you didn't let that hold you back. You didn't say, I'm too overwhelmed with these classes, I can't do these things. You were able to do both, and you were able to do both at a really, really high level, and you're looking at an incredibly long professional career in the PW.
Yeah. How does that make me feel? Right?
Yeah, how does it make
Yeah.
you feel knowing that you overcame it?
Thankful that I was able to overcome it, to be honest. I'm glad I could do it. Now it's time to move on. To be honest, I like school. Like I enjoy certain subjects and stuff, and I think I'm gonna miss it. Like I can't say I like love studying and I love spending hours and hours reading over lectures or writing papers, but I enjoy learning things overall. So I think I'm gonna miss school to an extent, but I'm also really excited to just focus on hockey and do that professionally. Finally do it like professionally. Like spending time
Okay.
getting paid for it, and it's just the thought of that feels really good.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think that this is a perfect spot for us to pause on your collegiate career and just kind of reflect on that, because you mentioned earlier, and this is the story for a lot of women who are looking at hockey as a career, is that they grew up and there was no professional league. As you mentioned earlier, typically it's Europe, or you're waiting for your chance to play for the national program, what have you. But there's no actual league necessarily with best on best
Mm-hmm.
like there is with the PWHL.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Knowing now that you've accomplished everything that you've accomplished at Yale during your collegiate career, how great does it feel knowing that that's an option for you, that you've declared for the draft, that like this is the next step for you? It must
Yes.
just be
Yeah.
so surreal for you.
Yeah, it is so surreal because like once again, as I said, coming to Yale, my sole goal was to like get a good degree, like graduate and find a good job so I could support myself because obviously I knew hockey couldn't provide that for me. But now like having that stage, to compete and to be able to grow as a persona, it feels really good, like having that prospect in the future, because you see the guys going to the NHL and everything, and you're like, well, why can't we have that? We put work in as well, like give us something. So to have PWHL now and to see it grow and to see it succeed so far, knock on wood, it's just so fascinating and exciting. Yeah.
And um, I guess then kind of tying into the PWHL here for a moment as well, but how do you feel as though Yale has helped to elevate your game and help you to grow on the ice and prepare you ultimately for this next step in the PW?
I think at the beginning, especially, um, it helped me improve the speed of my game a lot. Having very outstanding first 2 years, playing in the playoffs, making it to the ECAC playoffs, and then going to Frozen Four. Just once again seeing the level of hockey there and like going against these girls. Um, it's definitely helped me see the game the way I should be playing, what I should be improving about my game to be able to keep up. Skating with the like Claire Dalton, Elle on the team was also super helpful. We have some other younger girls who are still staying here, who are really good. So just being surrounded by motivated hockey players was very helpful. And I think from the coaching staff, you know, having a bit of freedom was very helpful. They weren't putting me in this like box of the way I should be playing, but they were like giving me more leeway in the way I want to play. Obviously, we have systems and everything, but being able to do like some creative things on the ice is very helpful to like, improve your game and make the game more fun for you and for people who are watching.
And I know that now having a league like the PWHL, that in and of itself is fuel for your passion, for your pursuit of your hockey career. But also layered into that is the fact that Yale, as you mentioned, as well as many other NCAA schools, you've seen the success that players have had in their transition from whatever program they're a part of in the NCAA now to the PWHL. How motivating is it to actually see,
Mhm.
players that you both played with and against being so successful in the PWHL?
Um, I mean, one, it makes me really happy for them that they were able to make it there and they once again do something that they're so passionate about and get rewarded for it, get paid for it, do it as pursue it as a career. And two, it definitely gives me extra confidence. Like, I've played in this league, I've played against these girls, I did okay. Therefore, I can take this next step, and move up if once again if I do things if I control things that I can control. Yeah.
And I I know that when you're in it, so when you're in university or you're in college,
Hmm.
it feels like sometimes things happen so quickly. It feels like it's just like in a snap of a finger, you started and now here you are graduating. I'm sure
Yeah,
that you you
that's
you feel that way as well, especially you're doing so much, you're busy all the time. But I wanted to give you an opportunity here to maybe reflect on your career with Yale, and you can take it in any direction that you want to, but what are some of those things that you're really proud of over your time with Yale when you think back on your experience, and maybe what do you hope your legacy is going to be? Once you graduate, once
Mhm.
it's in the rearview mirror, what do you hope your legacy is going to be with Yale?
I know that prior to Mark Boulding, Yale has always been like kind of average, like amongst the NCAA teams. And when my freshman year we came and it was Claire Dalton's class, the seniors, and then the sophomore class with Elle and us, we had, I think, the best year in the history of Yale. That was the first time Yale made it to the Frozen Four, and that was just an incredible feeling to know that. Like it was crazy to believe that that never happened before, but at the same time, it just felt so great that we were able to do it, and hoping that that will continue starting from us. That that's the culture that Yale wants to nurture. You know, the culture of success, the culture of hard work. So I hope that's the legacy that we leave. But yeah, Frozen Four appearance is definitely one of the highlights. And honestly, just like making bonds with my senior class, like right now, senior class, it's just like we have so many great people, and I think people that you go through challenges with are very important. They define your time here. And I'm really, really grateful for the people that I've been surrounded with for the past 4 years. I mean, like, without their support, I don't know what I would do. So, yeah.
And I'm certain that they would say the same thing about having you there alongside with them. So just keep that in mind as well. It definitely would go both ways in that situation. Now let's fully shift gears to the PWHL. That's a big step.
Hmm.
Going from NCAA to the PWHL. Obviously, you've done things throughout your career that have showcased just how you're able to elevate your game. You're able to take that next step. And whether you look it outwardly or not, you seem to do so every time with confidence and, again, with success. But I also want to know, when you're thinking about taking this next step, how in the world do you prepare, both maybe mentally but also physically, for that next step, especially because things like there's physicality now
Right.
in women's hockey, right? And that's not something that you would have experienced, at least during your collegiate years. So how do you prepare to take this next step, and how are you feeling in terms of preparing for that next step?
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I've been thinking about a lot as well. I think I still have time until the draft to sort of settle things, figure out my practice plan for the summer, um, how I'm gonna prepare mentally. But as of now, just a lot of on and off the ice training. I think for a physicality aspect of it, it worries me about a little bit as well because NCAA has been allowing more physical play in the past year, so I think that's really helpful, but it's nowhere near the level that's allowed in PWHL. However, like I think working off the ice in the gym will help build the strength, and help prevent injuries if it comes to that with the physicality level. And mentally, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to work a lot on that, just like having the confidence to go out there, play in front of the crowd, and do things that I love to do, like the creative things, making plays, making passes, sometimes taking risky plays, but like, um, a lot of the times there are rewarding plays. So, yeah, I'm still thinking about that, but I'm gonna hopefully have a plan with that soon.
Well, the good news is, as you shared very early on in your hockey journey, you set the tone for yourself, being like, you know what, I can only control what I can control. The outside noise is the outside noise, and that's exactly where it's gonna stay.
Right.
So, it's the same. I presume that's gonna be
Yeah.
another. This is gonna be another one of those times when you're gonna layer that into how
Right.
you prepare for this next stage.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, you had mentioned it there as well, but the crowds. Let's talk about the crowds.
Right.
You've seen firsthand, over your time, at the collegiate level, or in the collegiate level. crowds are starting to continue to grow. We're starting to also see, and I share this often, but we're starting to see tournaments, NCAA tournaments, broadcast on TV. This is the first year that I've been able to watch. I was able to watch the Frozen Four games up here in Canada. I was also able to watch the Beanpot Championship here in Canada. Those are things that I've never seen. I've never had the opportunity to see before. Now you're stepping into a world where we're seeing 19,000 fans at some of these games. How exciting is it for you? I should mention the giant smile on your face as you're kind of hearing this, but how exciting is it for you to be stepping out? I know it's going to be nerve-wracking, but how exciting is it to be able to play the game that you love in front of constant sellout crowds of thousands and thousands of incredibly passionate fans?
To be honest, I can't even imagine that because at Yale we don't usually get great crowds. Like I remember I think usually it's a Harvard Yale game that gets a lot of fans, and us playing against Quinnipiac because that's kind of a rivalry game as well. But I remember getting so excited every time there was a lot of people. Like it just feels so good when the crowd gets rowdy, when you make a good play, and then them trying to like boo the other team. It's just so fun. Like it brings this excitement to the game. And I just remember seeing the PWHL or the girls, like the players posting that they're gonna play at Scotiabank, and I think I got the tingles, or what are they called? Yeah.
Yeah, goosebumps. Yeah.
Goosebumps, yeah, not tingles. I got goosebumps because I was like, this is unreal. Because I was like, oh, will there ever be a time that like the women will play at Madison Square Garden? Because that would just be like insane. Like imagine sell out Madison Square Garden. It like must feel incredible. So I can't even really put it into words how exciting that must be. But on the other side, there comes that pressure that you should be showing, something like some level, like some higher level of the game, that people come there and they want to watch you. So it's once again both sides. It's exciting, but then you also have to present a high quality product. So
Yeah, there's like the business side of the game as well to ensure that it continues to grow. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a very unique answer, and not one I had even considered. So I love that answer. I love that. As you've mentioned previously, there were some former teammates, including El Harchi, who has been a guest of the show before. So it was great to be able to connect with her. When you think about taking that next step and heading into the PWHL, are there certain players that you're looking forward to playing with? Are there certain players you're also maybe looking forward to playing against?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I never got a chance to play on the senior national team, and because I feel like with that, I would get to play against the senior American national team and the Canadian team and like some other European teams as well. But I'm really looking forward to play against these like high ranked like players that have been on that stage for so long. Like we went to two PWHL games, and I think both times it was Montreal against New York, and just like watching, for instance, Pauline play, it's just incredible. She's so good. Like, oh my god, she's just a pro. She knows what she's doing. She's been in this sport for so long, and it's just like she knows exactly what to do. She knows exactly how to score. So like either like being a teammates with people like that, and like there's like lots of other players I could name along her side. So yeah, being with people like her, like either learning from them or like learning by playing against them is just something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a good role model or a good
Yeah,
influence to be
yeah.
looking towards for sure. Hopefully, you get to play with her because playing against her appears to be a nightmare. And this actually brings up once again, thank you for the assist on this, because this brings up I think it's an important question, and that's that growing up, unfortunately, as a woman, you didn't have necessarily the same influences, the same role models that your male counterparts had, because there wasn't the professional league, there certainly wasn't the visibility, but now there is. So, all right, and it continues to grow. This is another one of those things where there's still room to grow, and there's still it's only in its infancy, but it's heading in a really, really profoundly important direction. And it's already made some really great noise there. When you think about the fact that you're now, when you hear your name called, you will also be a part of building a true foundation for women's hockey for years to come. And part of that is that you are now going to be a role model for so many young girls growing up. Now they can look to you and say, I want to be like her. What does that mean to you?
Everything, honestly. It's just an incredible feeling, you know. You do something you love, you're so passionate about it, and then you inspire people to also join you in it, or like for instance, help them along their journey just because they're just as passionate as you are about something. So I think it's very fulfilling to be a role model. But once again, it adds responsibility to your actions, to how you act on and off the ice. So yeah, but it's definitely very, very meaningful, I think, and um, very, very exciting.
Yeah, and that was spoken like a true leader, in that it isn't just what you're doing on the ice; it's equally as important what you do off the ice and how you show up there. So I respect that answer a whole lot. Um, and obviously, good luck. I'm looking forward to the PWHL draft is actually being held this year in my hometown, so I will absolutely be there, and I'm rooting for you to hear your name called and to see you embark on that exciting new chapter of your life.
Yeah,
It's going to
so
be really exciting.
thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Before we wrap things up, we're going to end this show as we end every show, which is a fun game. It's the rapid fire questions segment of the show. And I want you to know you can take as long as you want in answering the question. It isn't rapid fire for you, just for me. Are you ready to take this test?
Hmm.
Okay, perfect. I know here you are saying I don't want to do tests. I'm looking forward to not having to do the academic side, and here I am
Yeah, well, this
testing
is
you
a fun
twice now
time.
in this conversation.
This is
Um, okay, so let's start off with your go-to pre-game meal.
a chicken and pasta and some salad, but like
Just a little bit of salad. Okay, that's fair. Um, if you had the opportunity, or when you have the opportunity to have a bit of a cheat meal or treat yourself to something, what would that be?
I love desserts. Like love desserts, like cookies and chocolate and cakes. So yeah, anything sweet.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. A sweet tooth. Got it.
Oh,
Do you have any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I wouldn't say I'm very superstitious. I do have a routine like before the game. I guess if there were a superstition or like a ritual, it would be like I tape my stick before every game, but that's about it.
Okay, fair. Um, what's your go-to pump up song rather?
Um, any, well, basically anything Nelly Furtado, like Say It Right, or like Britney Spears. So yeah, in that direction, it's like 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, some
Oh.
classics. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so imagine it's now. We alluded to it earlier. Imagine we fast forwarded and it's now draft day. Your name is called.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to select a walk-up song. So a song that is played as you're walking up to the stage before you shake hands, before all that stuff. What is that song?
I was thinking about it. I think I would pick Rich Flex because it's 21 and that was my number, jersey number here. So yeah, and it's kind of been my song here. Like whenever it comes on, everyone's like, "Oh, Vita, come on!" So I think I would pick that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I like that. That's good. Okay. Speaking of music, who owned the Yale University dressing room music?
Yeah, this year it was the Ellie Ryder, one of the other seniors. She has a really good music taste. She just like has a lot of good different music. Sometimes it was our captain Anna Bergman. She would play some music too, AGR. Yeah, and then prior to that, like the years before that, Elle Harchie would oftentimes be on the aux. So yeah.
Okay, well that's fair. I've spoken with Anna, so I should have known that she would have owned that because I think barely hesitated when I asked that question and said
Yeah.
it was her. So
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
What's one thing that people don't know about you?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say when I came to Canada, I barely knew any English, so everything I've learned's been in the past 7 years. So yeah.
You
Yeah.
are crushing it.
Thank
You're
you.
doing a great job.
Yeah.
Fantastic job.
Yeah.
And it's great going back to what you said before. It's really great that you're also prioritizing learning Russian. So that's good. Um, what's one word that your teammates would use to describe you?
Was thinking about that too. I think serious. Because once again, as I said, like, yeah, they're like, why do you look like that? I'm like, I don't know. I just no, there's just no emotion in my face. So, and especially before the game sometimes too, it just like, I like either zone out or I just sit like this just because that's how I prepare for the game. So that what makes me feel best on the ice. So, yeah,
Yeah, game face. I get that. That's fine. It
exactly.
just,
Exactly.
yeah. It's part of
Yeah.
the prep process.
Yeah.
What's something that remains on your bucket list?
I think I would want to run either half a marathon or a marathon, but that's like whenever it wouldn't interfere with my hockey career, because I feel like running that would just, yeah, you need to train for it, and it kind of doesn't really go hand in hand with hockey training. So maybe after,
No.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's something you can look forward to after a long and prosperous a hockey career. Yeah, good answer. I wasn't expecting that one at all. Last question for you. What's a lesson that you've learned through your hockey journey that you wish more young players knew?
I think it's important to not take yourself too seriously, because at time, like, my performance on the ice would affect my mood outside, and everyone has good and bad games. It's really important to just remember and like sort of zoom out, that it's important to have fun on the ice. And if you have a bad shift, it's okay. Just go out there next shift and forget about it and just like enjoy being there with your teammates and just work hard. That's all. Yeah.
I think, and again, once again, you've shared advice that applies whether you're an athlete or not, and that's
Yeah,
fantastic, and I love that because it's one of those things that you can just use in life, right?
exactly. Yeah, for
So I
sure.
love that, and
Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, that wraps up not only the final segment of the show, the rapid fire segment of the question segment of the show, but also the show in its entirety. And I wanted to say thank you, a huge thank you to you for taking the time to join me, share your incredible hockey journey from Russia, your early days in Russia to becoming a standout at Yale, and now preparing for an exciting new chapter in the 2025 PWHL draft and beyond. Vita, it's been so incredible hearing from you, your experiences. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps us grow and bring you more inspiring stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.